Hello everyone, may peace be upon all of you. I hope you are doing well and you are in the best of your spirits. Our today's e-lecture is about research. This e-lecture is beneficial particularly for those students who wanted to gain an insight to the work which were being done by us together in our class for the subject of research methodology. This e-lecture is for the students of 5th semester who are pursuing their BS English program at the Department of English, Shahid Benazir Bhutto University, Sheringal. I hope this e-lecture is going to be beneficial and it will help you in your academic journey towards the fulfillment of your academic goals. Now, as far as this e-lecture is concerned, there are four sections of this e-lecture. The first section is associated with scientific method and research. The second section is associated with the classification of types of research by purpose. The third section is associated with the classification of types of research by methods. And in the fourth section, we are going to discuss examples of types of research. So, as far as knowledge is concerned, and as far as the acquisition of knowledge is concerned, we can state that there are five primary ways with which we can acquire knowledge or with which we can know something. The first way of knowing is personal experience. The second is tradition, then experts and authorities, logic, and finally the scientific method. Now, before we start this topic, a lot of you might be asking this question that why is it important that we are studying ways of knowing while we have embarked on an academic journey in the realm of research. For those, I want to tell that until and unless we have some idea about the primary ways of knowing, we can come up with limitations in these ways of knowing, and these limitations in itself would direct us towards research, which is definitely the subject of our investigation and the subject of our e-lecture today. So the first way of knowing is personal experience. Now, what is personal experience? Personal experience is actually reliance on one's prior knowledge of something, and it is a very good way of knowing. Our experiences in our lives tells us not to commit mistakes. It is a very suitable way of knowing, but this way of knowing, it has some limitations. Number one, that the way some people experience certain things, it might be different from one person to another. We can never have a universal personal experience of certain things. There are a lot of subjective realities that are being perceived very differently by each and every individual. So, one limitation is that prior experience varies from person to person. The second is that although personal experience can be a very good way of knowing about something. But what if something that has not um, occurred as an experience in our lives? What can we do in that situation? Now, in that situation, we have limitation on personal experience as a reliable source or way of knowing about that certain thing. So we come to the next way of knowledge. The second way of knowledge can be described as tradition. Now, traditions are very important because traditions gives us some ideas about our lives and about certain things that we know in our lives. How can we define traditions? Now, by tradition, we mean that certain things have been done in certain ways in the past. So, by observing these things around us, we comply to perform these tasks the way these tasks have been done before us in our cultural, societal, and personal setups. Traditions, although can be an important way of acquiring knowledge, but there are certain cons and limitations associated with it. For example, traditions are often based on abstractions from our past. Let's say we say Salaam Alaikum when we meet people. We shake their hands when we meet people. Although these traditions or this way of knowing an idea when we meet people, we can apply this idea in our lives. But this entire idea, if we look deep down into it, we might come to an understanding is just an abstraction. So, although traditions can help us in a lot of ways, often they are based on abstractions that are being there in the past and which have been transferred from generation to generation in our societies. Another thing about tradition is that although it might be a rich source of knowledge, but most of the times traditions cannot relate to the concrete realities around us. So it poses a big limitations in understanding facts, especially in the academic circles. The next way of knowing might be termed as knowledge acquired from experts or authorities in a particular field. An expert or authority might be defined as someone having relevant knowledge about a particular area of studies. Now, acquiring knowledge from expert or authority might be beneficial in many ways, but it has got certain limitations too. Number one, experts or authorities cannot always be right on a particular issue. And number second, experts and authorities often poses disagreement over certain ideas within their own communities.